The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward.
I always equated training to mental toughening.
Welcome to the Business Pump Podcast.
It has the potential to change your whole life.
Connect with fitness professionals and turn your passion for fitness into a successful business.
Hard work is the first, second, and third part of the formula.
You gotta keep moving, let's go. Don't quit till you got nothing left.
And now your host, Michael Groff.
What is up? My name is Michael Groff, and I want to welcome you back to another episode of the Business Pump Podcast. If you're new here, on this show, I interview people who turn their passion for fitness into a successful business. So if that interests you, just subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, or if you're someone listening to this on Apple Podcast, I would really be honored if you could leave this show a 5-star review. It's real simple. Just go to the show's homepage, scroll to the bottom of the page, and you can leave a 5-star review there. That will just help us get out to a lot more people. Also, through my web design and SEO agency, Fitr Media, we are doing a brand new giveaway for this podcast. If you want to enter for the giveaway, just go to fitrmedia.com/BP. That's fitrmedia.com/BP. We're giving away a brand new Theragun Mini to one lucky winner. So if you want to be entered in for that, just go to fitrmedia.com/BP and you can enter in over there. So today I'm interviewing a guy named Brigham Nielsen. If you know anything about the Iron Games in Utah, it's a really dope competition that is very much like competing at a regionals event. Then you know who Brigham Nielsen is. He is the director of the Iron Games. I was a volunteer at the Iron Games in 2020. I was a part of the crew team, and I got to meet Brigham Nielsen at the event as a volunteer. And then when I started the show, I really wanted to have Brigham Nielsen on the show. We're going to talk a lot about how he started the Iron Games. We're talking a lot about the Iron Games in the first part of the interview. And then more towards the end, we're going to be talking about his performance mindset coaching. He's also a performance mindset coach. But without any further ado, here is the interview with Brigham Nielsen. Hey, Brigham, how is your day, man?
Going good, Michael. Thanks for asking. Glad to be on the show and appreciate you seeing me as someone valuable to fill your time.
Yeah, I first met you. You might not remember this, but I met you at the Iron Games in 2020. I was a volunteer. And
yeah, I remember.
And then when I decided to start this podcast, I was like, you were one of the first names. I was like, I want to have this guy on the show. I absolutely love the Iron Games and what you guys are doing over there. And I just wanted to have a great chat with you, man.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That's certainly humbling and just a testament to everyone that's been involved, all the volunteers, the staff of people that have gotten behind all of the Iron Games. So I got a great staff and a boss in Pace Clark, who's the director of the Summer Games, and Jason Genetti and Andrea Kern, who came on kind of last second in 2019. And then Laz Casper and his wife, Katie Casper, they've just been with me really from the very beginning, from the onset of the idea, and couldn't be more thankful to them. And there's so many other people to name that, it's not possible without them as well.
Yeah, I remember when I was volunteering in 2020 at the Iron Games, I came there as a volunteer and I was literally so jealous of the people competing. I was like, oh, this looks so cool. I'm definitely coming next year as a competitor.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I'm glad we're able to put on a show that way. Thank you.
So it wasn't until I was researching a little bit more about you, I actually saw you competed at, what was it, the 2013 Southwest Regionals as a team?
So I was an alternate on that team.
Okay.
So I didn't actually compete. I helped the team place in the open, had some of the top scores, and then we had a tryout period, and it was between me and one other guy, and he just turned out to be a better CrossFitter than I was at that time. I had been doing CrossFit for about 2 months, and he was a lot better at ring muscle ups and rope climbs, and honestly just some capacity at that point. So he was rightfully picked as the guy over me, and it was a blast to go up and watch, and still going up and watching had a big impact as well.
Oh yeah. You said an alternate, like what is that? I've never heard that before, like as regional teams.
Yeah. So honestly, like I don't really truly understand it in that
Oh,
you're an
okay.
alternate, but like they can't switch you out at any time. And from
Mm-hmm.
my understanding, you can't even be like, if someone were to break their leg on the team
Mm-hmm.
in the middle of the regional or in the middle of that specific event, you can't come in and fill in for them. So from my understanding, the alternate is if the team makes it to the next level and there was like a significant injury or whatever reason that person could not continue to go to the next level, whatever that might be, that's where the alternate would come into play.
Oh, I see. So you said you found CrossFit like 2 months before that. Were you like this super fit dude, or like how was that?
No, so I had played college football at Southern Utah University,
Mm.
and head coach at the time was Ed Lamb. He's now the assistant head coach at BYU.
Okay.
And him and the our strength coach, Dan Benyon, really liked CrossFit. I don't know how they stumbled upon it, but they started introducing it into to our college workouts. So I actually started doing CrossFit workouts in about 2009, 2010. But that knowledge base didn't go past Fran, Grace, and Fight Gone Bad. So,
Oh, I see.
and what that was basically every Saturday we were surprised with a workout, and later found out that those were merely to weed people out that didn't want to be there, because we had a new coaching staff that came in. We'd lost 18 games in a row. And so they wanted to weed out people that didn't want to be there, really wanted to create competition, find out who was going to go through hard things. And it was also, they knew a lot of partying was going on. And so I was partying at that time in my life, and I actually just stopped drinking. Didn't even realize it, but I stopped drinking because I wasn't interested in going to a workout Saturday morning and being hungover. So, so that was kind of how that all happened. So I still didn't know what CrossFit was. I just knew there were CrossFit workouts and named after girls. And then after graduating and after college football, I tried to go to Gold's Gym. It was not that successful. I became a head football coach and would work out with my team every once in a while, but still wasn't competing in fitness like I was used to, having played college football and just having always been in a weight room. And so I had a buddy, Kearney Wood, that just continued to push me to come to the gym with him and just try it. And finally I accepted the challenge. And the moment I walked in, I knew like I needed to keep doing CrossFit. So
That's pretty dope. So you said you played college football. Did you play that?
I played that at Southern Utah. Sorry. Hey, no, come here, Charlie, come here. Sorry.
Yeah, you're good.
So I played at Southern Utah, where we hold the Iron Games. Yep. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So it's cool to be back on the field too. And it was grass. It wasn't turf when I played, but yeah, that's part of it.
Yeah. Were you always like into football growing up? Like, were you that kid who played football throughout?
Yeah, I was always into football growing up. I was always into basketball. I was actually more into basketball consistently. The first year I played football, I hated it. I felt like I was forced to play on the offensive line. I didn't like that. So I quit the next year. I didn't play. And then I played again the following year and got to play a ton of different positions. But interestingly enough, my senior year in high school, I was asked to move to the offensive line because it was the best thing for the team. And it was one of the best decisions I ever made, and then was a part of me being able to go play college football and be a head football coach. That had a huge impact. And so it's just interesting how I think in life all the time you are introduced to things you don't like. You're introduced to try things that you don't think really suit you, and they end up becoming a bigger part of your life, and you're better at them than you think you were, or they provide something in some way, shape, or form that shapes you into who you need to be.
That's pretty cool. So you found CrossFit in like 2009, and then much more later, like a lot later, you started the Iron Games. Like, how did that process start? Like, when did that start ticking in the back of your mind?
So, in college, started doing workouts, CrossFit workouts, 2009. Graduated, didn't join a CrossFit gym and start doing CrossFit until 2013. So from there, I went from 2013 to now, transitioned from just being a member of the gym to, interning as a coach, getting my L1, becoming a coach, doing the head programming, being the head coach, now managing and running the gym, on top of being the head coach, and then being in charge of challenges, all these different things that way. And now I'm not involved with the CrossFit gym at all anymore. And during most of that time, I was also teaching and coaching football. But the Iron Games started to come into play where my wife and I had gone to regionals a couple of times. We had gone to the games once. And they were huge impacts in our lives. So even going into nutrition, our healthy nutrition used to be having white on white, bread sandwich with lunch meat, and putting tomatoes and lettuce on there was healthy, with, sun chips. Like, okay, hey, we're eating healthier, and like cheese and crackers. And we went to the regionals, and there was a paleo food truck, and the food was so good. And so I don't eat paleo, but it was like an example of, whoa, like there can be some really good food that's also a little bit healthier. And so that was a transition for us. Now my wife like meal preps and does a bunch of stuff online with that and on her social media. And it's just been step by step where our nutrition's gotten better and better. And it's not perfect by any means, but always trying to get better. So that being said, just being in those environments were very life transformational. And I got away from that when I was teaching and coaching. I was very much into football coaching, right? Got to give everything I have for the kids. And so I just got away from some of that stuff. Didn't have as much time for it. Was part of the reason I put my training on hold. I wanted to go to the games like so many people do. I really pushed for that, like to train that way in 2016, 2017. And I quickly found out that I was not capable of putting in the time and the commitment at the risk of like transforming my whole life and other things I had going. And I wasn't willing to make that sacrifice. Like point blank period. I found out I gave the best I could, and like, I'm not willing to sacrifice more. But I still love being involved. Right. And so from there, I transitioned out of teaching and coaching to become an event coordinator with the Utah Summer Games. Was really was a pretty quick change, something I wasn't expecting. Someone just brought it, a friend of mine just brought it to my attention. Actually, the transition of taking this job was to manage the gym more full time, instead of doing it on the side at night when I was getting done teaching and coaching. So that then just transformed into, hey, now I'm working with the Summer Games. We've been running events in the gym. Like, we love doing that. We've had some thankful, we had a thankful throwdown for Thanksgiving. We had some other events that we ran and been successful. I had been to events. So it was something that was always there. Like, man, whenever we have this type of event, CrossFit event, it's life-changing. It's inspirational. It makes us want to be better in all these other places. Well, now I'm in this job where we have access to a collegiate football stadium. We have access to an Olympic-sized swimming pool, and we have access to the city and to use those resources. And like, why not do this? Mm-hmm. And it got shut down pretty quickly by myself, and even talking to some other people in that. An example would be, we thought about trying to get an L1 certification at our gym, but we didn't fall within the guidelines to hold one because we're not close enough to a major airport. Okay. So there were all these things out of our control, or things I even made up in my own head as to why it wouldn't work and why it wouldn't be anything of value, that probably put it off for maybe like a year or two. But that all being said, again, just getting into this Summer Games job and seeing these resources, and my boss being really supportive of like, hey, if you want to do this thing, I'm all for it. I'll be supportive of it. And he does CrossFit as well. And so that's kind of just how it all started. So then it was just reaching out to people. And that was probably from like 2017 to 2019, the first year of the Iron Games. it's probably one of the best years of my life in that the continual growth that I had to do as a personally inside was very extreme during that time. I really had to get over my own fears, doubts, insecurities to have conversations with people that I never thought I would have conversations with, and who I would project on them that they would think that I was wasting their time, right? Having conversations with Adrian Conway and Nick Fowler and Brute Strength and the Buttery Bros, I would project onto them that they thought I was a waste of their time. You know, I don't know that they ever thought that, but I would project that, and it would stop me from all these different things. The same thing on going to people here in the city or SUU and, hey, I know you guys have never heard of CrossFit, but hey, we want to do this. And so that's how it all, I guess, kind of came to the forefront. And then it was just about going out and selling people the vision of like what could potentially happen and getting them to buy into it, and trusting on a lot of people on the back end to help me pull it off. And man, gratefully, there's a lot of people on the back end that helped me pull it off, because I did not do it alone by any means.
Yeah. So when was the first year of the Iron Games? Was that 2019 when like you officially had the event?
Yep, 2019 was the very first year, and you know, it was an awesome year. There's always ways that you can grow and get better, right? And we being behind the scenes, we saw everything for sure that we could do better. You know, it was interesting to see people's expectations. So like we spent 40 grand on equipment the first year, right?
Oh, wow.
Like no throwdown does that, right? Like a throwdown is not going to do that. And the throwdown is like very different. It feels different. It's inside a gym. There's not progressions to like workouts on the floor, really. It's just very different. And so, you know, we did our best to not make it feel like a throwdown in the first year, but we also had limitations being 40 grand in the hole and just never having done it before. And so, but because of the venue that we had, right, the collegiate football stadium, the swimming pool, it made it feel even bigger than it was. And so like we didn't have cash prizes, you know, or, you know, we barely had anything that people got in the Iron Games for signing up in their swag bag or, you know, in the podium bags, like had to beg, you know, had to go out and pretty much beg for it. So it was interesting to just see people, like there were people that were just floored by what we were able to pull off. Then there were people who I assume had been to like a Wadapalooza and these other competitions that were like, hey, like this was a cool competition, no doubt. But like for the venues that you guys have, like, and for the price that we paid, like, you know, we should have gotten X or that, you know, and I don't disagree with them. Like I would have loved to have provided those things. It was not in the cards that year. And fortunately we had some fantastic sponsors and just very fortunate to have had a great sign up, and we were able to give a cash prize to the individual winners of that elite division this year. It's cool.
It was kind of funny that I saw the 2019 Iron Games because at the time I was following the Brute Strength programming, and then they sent out an email to all of us about this Iron Games coming up, and I was literally just about to I was really thinking of like, okay, I'm going to sign up for this. And then I saw that there was a swimming workout, and at the time, like swimming really intimidated me, and I was like, oh shoot. So I just kind of said no. But how are the first, like, especially first years? I mean, I guess it still is a new event, but like, how was that? Did it kind of meet your expectations? How the event went? Like, how did you guys get the word out about the event? Did you spend a lot of money in marketing? Like, what were your strategies around that?
So we'll be at our third year with 2021. And we were floored by the second year in that we outdid our first year registration within 24 hours. So that was really cool. We had divisions that were sold out by the afternoon when registration opened, you know, that morning. We had also had some divisions that no one signed up for, you know, so there was a demand in certain aspects, but
yeah, totally.
But it was really cool to see. I think that the marketing that we did for year two was the proof of year one, like if you were there, right?
Oh, okay, I see.
So We had a lot of repeat people that signed up, but we also had we also increased our athlete participation by about 100 people.
Wow.
So a new 100 people. So, which was almost 50-50 then, right? So we almost had about 50% return, 50% new. And so I think the best thing we did was we took care of the people that were involved as best we could, right? And I think that that's something in business, like, if we're talking about, hey, this is kind of like a fitness business, starting your own business type thing. I think that that's something that gets lost, and maybe even can get lost, specifically in CrossFit gyms, but just in general, right? We get so caught up in more, and we need more. We need more people to provide value to. We need more money from coming in from people, like whatever it is. If you don't have a word of mouth that's positive about the brand of whatever you're putting on, that's hard to overcome. And I think that we, for the most part, were able to do a very good job of that in year one. So that's a big thing. It's just trying to take care of everybody that is already bought into or trying to buy into what you're doing. If people are already spending money and they're trying to buy into you as a person, you as your brand, whatever it might be, like, those people deserve your attention and your loyalty first before the new customer. So in regards to year one, the partnership with Bruce Strength was big, I think. Like you just said, you got the email. So I think that was a big part of it. Working with them was really, honestly, a dream come true for me personally. And I'm so appreciative of their support and everything that they did there. And buying into that year one and being involved. I think that our social media, who's ran by Katie Casper and Laws Casper, but mainly Katie, I think they do a great job killing it. And I don't know what they do exactly. Like, I don't know how you post on the back end or do this or do that. Like, but she's grown that, from my understanding, just all very organically. And nice. I've just been really impressed with her and just how she's done that. She does a great job. I wish I could get more details, I guess, on how she's done that, but I honestly don't know.
You're good.
So I think that that's been one. I think another thing that we did well was myself, Laws, and some other people involved. We went to all of the other competitions that were going on that year. So in 2019, we went to FitCon and we went to Battle Forge Throwdown, and we tried to just have a presence at all of these other events leading up to say, hey, we're involved in the community. We want to be involved in the community, and we want you guys to come to our same event. Like, we're going to try and get people from Utah. Like, why not get people from Utah? We're not trying to go, get people from Alaska or New York or whatever. Right. Which was cool in year two. We had a lot more people from like Kentucky, Georgia. We had some sign up from Hawaii that unfortunately weren't able to come out. We had a lot more people from all over. We've had people that have come both years from Mexico. So that's been cool. But yeah, we just tried to have a presence in the community here in Utah. And that's been a lot of fun for me. It's probably, it's something that I love doing that I don't get paid to do, but just being like, if I could do that for free all the time, I would do that for free all the time. Is like being involved in the CrossFit community here, specifically in Utah, and then even abroad, is just a life-changing experience for me, it seems, every time. So, we had really tried to be vocal with everything that was going on with like the Rockwell Championship. I don't know if you remember that.
It's familiar a little bit.
In 2019 is the Southwest Championship, and then there's the Rockwell Championship. Huge names. We did some stuff with them, and that was honestly a nightmare roller coaster for me, because that event did not turn out, I think, as expected, unfortunately. And I was, what do you call it? There's an actual theory for like the imposter syndrome. Basically, like, you've educated yourself or worked to be, have a position, or like, say, know that you can do X job, right? But this imposter syndrome, is negative talk that puts you in this place, is like, what am I doing? I can't do this. Like, So I went through a lot of that when things went south with that other competition, just because it was my first year and I was really nervous about it. So, yeah, so I hope that answered your question. Marketing wise, we really tried to engage with the community on social media and build that. And Katie was all over that. And then we tried to go to actual events and be in the forefront of meeting with people and greeting people and talking to them. And then, you know, not trying to do everything on our own. I think getting word out too was reaching out to people and saying, whether it was volunteering or needing head responsibility people for volunteers or athletes or equipment crews. It was like, hey, we need your help. Like, we can't do this all. And we don't want to try to pretend that we can. And if we do, it'll fail. So how, how can you come help us? And how can we help you to come help us? And fortunately, we live in a great community that people want to help out.
Yeah, totally. Oh yeah, that was a great answer. You mentioned, this is kind of ties into this a little bit, but you mentioned earlier about being a little bit intimidated or something like that when you were reaching out to brands like Brute Strength and the Buttery Bros for the first few years of the Iron Games. How did you overcome that? Like, did you just finally take the plunge to start talking to them, or how did that work? Like, how did you overcome that like intimidation, I guess?
Yeah. So in 2016, end of 2016 or the beginning of 2017, I started doing Brute Strength programming and still do. I do one-on-one with Coach L.
Okay.
But I started doing the Brute Compete programming, and I had a little bit of back history where Michael Caju, who's the co-founder with Matt Brute, he was the assistant strength coach at my college.
Oh, nice.
And so I knew him, and he had done the programming for our team when we'd gone to regionals. So I kind of felt like there was he would remember me if if I reached out to him, like, oh yeah, I remember you, but I don't think he really knew me. That being said, he was always a down to earth guy, and I appreciated various conversations I had had with him. So I just decided to reach out, to start doing that training, that programming, and I just tried to be involved. Like, I tried to be involved in their Facebook group, and I tried to be involved in, they would do coaching meetings. They provided a ton of value. So I tried to be involved and just get to know them. And I reached out to, basically what was happening was I was going through a personal growth shift where I wanted to get out of teaching. And this is when I was wanting to get out of teaching, not because I wasn't enjoying it, but just wanted to try other things, maybe start my own business. And so in doing that, I was, writing down 10 dreams every day, or writing down positive affirmations every day, or 3 things I want to accomplish. My days can be busy, but if I can accomplish these 3 things, I'll consider it successful. And what happened was, literally, I was writing down every day different things like, I want to do a one-on-one consultation as an athlete with Nick Fowler. I want to, find out how to reach out to the Buttery Bros. I want to, I want to go meet with Adrian and talk to him in person about how he's on the L1 staff and everything he's done, like learn from him. And so I want to go take our CrossFit coaching staff up and talk to Chris Spieler about what he's done to build his gym. And we did that. And so there were just all of these things where I saw this big picture of, whatever I, wanted for my own personal life, for my business life, and how can I get over my own insecurities to do that? And I literally would have to write down. So for example, I signed up to do on-site training at Nick Fowler's gym. There were a lot of athletes up there that I'd seen on Instagram who, I thought were out of my league, different things like that.
Yep.
You see different athletes post about working with Nick. Again, like, why would he want to spend his time with me, right? So, but like for a week, I wrote down every day, like, be confident when you meet so-and-so, or call so-and-so today. And some days I wouldn't call him, or like reach out to so-and-so on Instagram today. And some days I wouldn't reach out to him, but I would just keep, failing basically, and then keep coming back to either do it this time or fail again, and realize, and that feeling would keep coming to me of disappointment in myself, or, excitement when I would do it. Right. And so that was kind of how I knew, like, okay, this is really important to me or not. I care that I'm not doing this, or I care when I am doing it. And it was writing things down, journaling every day, writing down things I was grateful for. So it was a lot of personal self-discovery, self-development on things that I was grateful for, what I wanted to accomplish that was maybe a month out or a year out. And I knew there was a step that needed to happen now. And I'd write that down and really, put it out in the atmosphere, the law of attraction, and just what you focus on is what you get back. And I focused more on doing those things and overcoming those insecurities. And I was able to overcome a lot of them.
That's pretty dope. You keep on mentioning you write your stuff down. Is it because you like to write, or is there a reason why you do that? Write it down? Because I do know some people believe there's a power in writing something down. Is that kind of tying there, or do you just like to write?
Absolutely. So I don't like to write in that I don't consider myself a writer.
Yeah.
I don't read as much as I think I should read, or feel like I should read, or the world pressures me to read. So I don't do a lot of that. I never was good at journaling from when I was younger. And there were always, like, whether it was religious stuff or a variety of other things, like I just never journaled. What really spoke volumes to me was when I learned of ideas and concepts of, like, it's not about journaling and writing about how your whole day went. Like, that's not the point. It's about journaling, or writing things down that it could be 3 things, like just very simple. Right. So, that was really what started to stick out to me was listening to the Brute Strength podcast with Michael Cazayoux. It's now called the Michael Cazayoux podcast. And then listening to Justin Sua. I listened to him, try to listen to him every day. Been listening to Adrian Conway's podcast recently a lot. So, but that was all about 3-4 years ago, starting to listen to Justin Sua's podcast where, he just made it a lot simpler. It's not about spending 20 minutes journaling. It's about spending 5 minutes reflecting and assessing, like, where am I at? What do I want to do? What do I want to accomplish? Why do I feel the way I do? And those things just really stuck out to me. And I think that in general, I think that we just have thousands of things grabbing for our attention in our mind. And in our mind also, we can go down rabbit holes, good or bad, about what's going on. And I think that writing, again, like, I don't write novels. I've never written a book or anything like that. And I've never seen myself doing that. But writing can be a way to say, this is what I'm thinking. I really believe that. And now I can literally see myself make a decision that I believe this or I don't believe it, and I can change it. Right. So one of, like, the greatest things I've done is I've written down 20 things that I want to do, 20 things I want to accomplish in the next year. And it's like all these different things. And it's all the things that I think about, oh, this would be so cool to do. And a lot of those things I think about when I'm bored or when I'm sad and not happy with where I'm at. Right. Like, oh, I see something on Instagram and it's like, oh, that would be nice to go do summer sales, make a lot more money. Or, oh, it would be cool to go back to coaching football because, I'm watching football stuff and, like, I'd really like to do that. So, but when I wrote all those things down and then I got rid of all of them except for what my top, 3 or 5 most important things are, well, now I really get to decide, okay, I have these thoughts of, like, going back to school and being a administrator. I would make a lot more money as an administrator in the public school system. My retirement would be pretty set up. And so I think about that sometimes, right? Like, when things aren't great.
Yeah.
But again, seeing that on paper, I had written that down and then had these other top 3 to 5 things that I actually circled and, like, these are the 5 most important things to me. And being an administrator in the public school system isn't one. I now to get to confirm with myself that I really don't want to do that thing. When I think about doing that thing, or when you think about doing X, Y, and Z because you're just bored in the current moment, you don't really want to do that thing. You're just using it as an excuse and a distraction from doing what you do want to do, but it's hard right now to do what you want to do.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. So basically, you're using writing down your like goals and just writing down things in general as kind of like a way to practice self-awareness. Is that kind of that's
Absolutely.
basically?
Absolutely. So, I
Hmm.
mean, you just said it faster than I ever said it, right? Like self-awareness is, I think, one of the most underrated skills of our century. You have got to be self-aware of what it makes you happy, what you want to do, what is it you're trying to accomplish? Because if not, the
Hmm.
world is going to tell you what to do, who you're going to be, and how you're going to do it. And if you can't make that decision for yourself, I think you're going to wake up in 40 years and you're going to regret a lot about the way you didn't live your life.
Okay, that's extremely powerful, man. That's a huge piece of advice. That's great.
Thank you.
Um, so I would definitely want to get into some more of your performance mindset coaching a little bit later, just because I think we're going to unpack a lot of great things. But obviously, the Iron Games, going back to the Iron Games, obviously it's still new. It's like going into its third year this year. Like, what is like your goal of what you hope the Iron Games like builds up to? Like, do you have a like what's your like mental picture that you hope it can get to?
So for me, I think that the Iron Games is a pretty good example of the value or the importance in life of focusing on the process, and
Mm,
then whatever the outcome is will kind of take care of itself, even if
okay.
you want it to be a certain thing. So I would love it if it was, to become a sanctioned event, or,
Mm-hmm.
the quarterfinals or the semifinal, whatever they're doing now,
Mm-hmm.
right? I would love it if it was seen on the CrossFit landscape as, a premier event. That would be
Mm-hmm.
absolutely amazing to me. That being said, um, and I believe my team agrees with
Yeah.
this, or the team agrees with this, is like, we're going to run this event and we're not going to let something we can't fully control, the label of CrossFit or whatever
Mm-hmm.
that might be, tell us the experience we're going to provide.
Mm.
And so there was that little promo video that we just put out that was done by Bryce Eggeman and Black Label Supplements. And Bryce has done our video the last 2 years, just done an incredible job.
Nice.
But in the video, I talk about how the goal of the event is to create an experience for the elite athlete that is extremely valuable,
Mm-hmm.
just like one that they would have going to any other top event. We want
Yeah.
to create that experience for them.
Mm-hmm.
But I would be beside myself if, as we do that, we
Mm-hmm.
lost sight of creating the same type of event and experience
Mm-hmm.
for someone who does not train full time to go to CrossFit Games.
Okay, I get you.
That is not. I do not want to create an event that can't serve both.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, and I know that could be hard. I know that there could be give and take along the way, things like that. But I
Definitely.
think that, the mission that CrossFit is, and the
Mm-hmm.
true way that you change the world is you change the world in your small little world, right? And so when
Mm-hmm.
I think about a mother or a father or a sister or a brother that chooses to put their health first
Mm-hmm.
by doing, and it doesn't have to be CrossFit, right? But
Yeah.
by doing CrossFit and by, and challenging themselves, like when they do that, when they make that decision, that has an impact on that little world around them. And then those people go and impact other people in that world, right? You change the world by changing the world that you're surrounded in. And I've just seen that
Mm-hmm.
in so many ways with the Iron Games. I've seen that with, people that came down as volunteers,
Mm-hmm.
or people that came down and watched and then
Yeah.
said, I want to sign up for a CrossFit gym. That happened, and they 10 days later they signed up at a CrossFit gym and then they competed this next year, right?
Mm-hmm.
That happened with you this last year. You came down,
Yeah.
you volunteered, and now you're saying you want to compete, right? Like, and it's not about like getting you to compete or anyone to compete. It's
Mm-hmm.
about you came, you volunteered, you for whatever reason decided not to sign up as an athlete, and there could be a variety of reasons for that. But then you looked at something, you said that looks really challenging, and you probably said, I don't know if I can do that. These guys are, I don't know. You went back and forth, and like, I'm going to compete next year. And so it's the concept of you choosing to do something that you were previously afraid to do for whatever reason. And you're now going to do it. And that's how life is. And that's success in my eyes, is choosing to do hard things and overcoming them, overcoming the doubts that you had in doing them.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I noticed was really special about the Iron Games when I volunteered is it didn't matter like what skill level an athlete was. It felt like everybody was just as much involved, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It just seemed really special because I saw people there that you could tell they were probably a few months into CrossFit or this was their first competition they've been at, but it was like really neat seeing everyone competing, um, kind of being a part of something way bigger than themselves because it definitely did feel like a regional style event. Like it felt really dope to be a part of if you were an athlete.
Well, yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. And I said, we want to make it feel that way. We want it to run on time. We want it, we want the lanes to all be set up and move down the lanes just like you would in that regional, style event. And,
Hmm.
uh, you know, again, there's give and take, and there's two ends of the spectrum. And, just for example, right, like, I would love to serve a population of people that can only do ring rows.
Mm, yep.
But we've really looked at that hard, for example, and like it's just not. We cannot figure out how to serve both ends if we were to do that, right? There's a lot of things that go into the logistics of that and timing. Like even just with adding another 100 athletes this year, creating a schedule that worked not just for the athletes but for our volunteers so that we didn't run them into the ground was extremely difficult. Was one of the biggest, no one's seeing that, right? But like it's great. Like I wish we could have ran more events or done more longer workouts or a variety of things, but we also really committed to making sure that our volunteers didn't get run to the ground and they weren't working from sun up to past sundown every single night, because even after the last heat our volunteers are working a couple more hours to clean up, get ready for the next day, whatever it is. And so it's definitely a balance to, again, serve everyone in the way they think that they should be served, and and uh and do what's right for the people on the back end that nobody knows about,
Hmm.
and not just for the athletes and that everybody sees.
Uh-huh. Not to like put anything down against any of the athletes, but that's kind of a joke. You talked about the volunteers.
Yeah.
That was kind of a joke I kept on making to my friends at like my local gym. Is like it was almost like we worked harder than the athletes because we moved those worms like 100 times. It was like insane. That was what was that?
No, you're right though. You're right though. Like it is hard work to be a volunteer, and especially if you're on that equipment crew, right? Like those guys are studs. And like the way you guys were able to, how we had to adjust the rings, in between some of the
Oh yeah.
get the ladder out there, and we were doing it in like 2 minutes. You're
Mhm.
adjusting 8 lanes, changing 8 lanes, all the weights out in 2 minutes. Like
Mhm.
I can't strip my bar in 2 minutes
Yeah.
by
Yeah.
myself, right? And put all the weight back across the gym floor. So
Mhm.
it was pretty impressive.
Yeah, I was um after the competition was over and we were driving home, I was like, I'm never looking at another volunteer for anything the same again. Like this was insane. um, but so cool. Um, that's great to hear about the Iron Games. I kind of want to move more into now your performance mindset coaching, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Charlie, come here.
So when you say a performance mindset coach, what exactly is that? If any somebody don't know.
Yeah. So um my my goal with that, or my purpose with that, is I want to help people perform better. I want to help them have a higher efficiency of thinking with their mindset, right? So we have over 80,000 thoughts in a day. Let's say that 20% of your thoughts are positive, or are beneficial to you. Like how can we implement things, strategies in your daily habits, strategies in your thinking, strategies in how you interact with people, talk to people, how you talk to yourself, to increase that, 1%, 2%, 3%, whatever percentage. And when you think about a percent of 80,000, like that's a big deal. So, that's my goal. I'm pretty young in it. So I'm always learning and I'm always trying to figure out like how I can be better. And luckily, like Justin Sue has been a big mentor to me, and a lot of people have been. Adrian has been, just people in general. I don't know. I don't know if that's common or uncommon, but basically like anyone that I have a relationship with, like I'm always trying to learn something from them and how I can do my own thing better based off of their experience. So, but what I'm trying to do with people is, again, just help them perform better. So for example, I work with a real estate company, and I work with the owners, and then I work with their team. My goal is not to help them make more money. My goal is to help the owners create an environment and a culture that is more um, beneficial to their coworkers, and then to work with the coworkers to help them, perform better and be more efficient in their work in the office for the owners as well as for the clients, right? So we were talking about how, in business, right, you want to make sure that your current clients are right. That's where you're trying to make people happy and get that word of mouth spread. So even in a business, right, like if my employees are happy, it would then make sense that they would make the customers happy, right?
Okay, that makes sense.
So
Yeah.
a CrossFit gym is a great example.
Mhm.
If I'm an owner and all of my decisions are based off of making the customer happy, and I don't have and I don't know or understand how that affects my coaches and the people who work for me at the gym, then I'm missing something, right? Whereas if I focus on my customers being the coaches, like the coaches are who I work for as the owner. If they're happy, then they will go out and spread the message and make all the members happy because they're interacting with the members and I don't ever see them, for example, right? And that could be said for any type of business. I just think we understand that CrossFit gym model space. So yeah, so that's what I try and do. I work with a football team up in Salt Lake. And yeah, I work with the head coach about him and his system, what he's doing with his coaches, how he can overcome different challenges that he's having, and then interact with the players, do Zoom calls with them. This week we talked about words that define their 2020. Why did they choose those words? What were the words that were in their control? What were out of their control? And how we could take control in 2021. What words did we want to define 2021, and what were we in control of? So, and the reason for that is, like, everybody sets New Year's resolutions, right? A lot of people don't follow through on them, myself included. There's tons of New Year's resolutions I haven't followed through on, but also there's just tons of ways that my goals change, right? I think I want to do something in January, or I think I want to do one of 10 things, and like I do a really good job at 7 of them and 3 of them fall off. So how do I now create words that have meaning around all of those things I want to accomplish, so that if my goals change, if 2020 happens, all the unexpected things, if all these things happen, I can anchor back to these words that I want to define my year and the life that I want to live, the person I want to be. So that was something we talked about today. And yeah. So, and navigating through just all the different things that come their way. I'm an unbiased opinion. It doesn't matter to me, X, Y, and Z doesn't matter to me because I'm not in your business. So how can I help you? Well, X customer is having a conversation with me because one of their top producing clients is deciding to leave the company. So hey, what are we going to do? How are we going to work through this? Hey, there's a chance she might stay, but I don't know what she wants. And I'm afraid if I give her what she wants, then she has more power over me. Like, how do I navigate through that? So, I can be the outsider looking in and give just a lot of unbiased opinion and thought provoking conversation to help them work and come to their own conclusion.
So you're actually coaching people outside of like the realm of fitness. That's cool.
Yeah. So I do one-on-one. I have programming for people. I have I think I have 12 clients right now that I do one-on-one programming with. And 5 of them are like pretty into CrossFit. Like they want to compete, at the highest level possible. So I'm always mindsetting myself on having conversations with how do I deserve to be coaching them? But, but just always get better there. And then other ones that have various goals. So I do online, programming and coaching for people, as well as then the mindset stuff. But that is kind of a little bit separate, two different things.
Oh, I see. Okay. So as a performance mindset coach, what are a few things like when you start working with a new client? What are some like how does that work? Do you just start evaluating their current mindset and then start focusing on getting it better? Like how does that work?
Yeah. So I try to ask a lot of questions.
Okay.
So I'm not the best at this, but I asked Justin Sewell once. I said, "So why are you a mindset coach or a performance coach and not like a life coach?" And I asked him this because when I would explain to people what I do, they would always say, "Oh, so you're a life coach." And I was like, "Yeah, sure." I would say yes, just so they would understand what I was saying. So I asked him about that, and he said, in his opinion, that in the work he was going about more in sports psychology, being called a life coach wasn't like, I guess, what he wanted, that's not what I guess in that environment, that's not what it's called. Right. And so, and he said also from his understanding, like being a life coach was a lot more about helping people through different problems they're having in their life by sharing your own experiences. I don't know if that's exactly true. Maybe it's all semantics, whatever it is. So, but one thing I do understand and I've really learned from him is the influence that we can have on people when we coach them, right? And I think we've seen this even in CrossFit coaching, right? You're trying to take the client on a self-discovery session, right? If you can help the client come to their own conclusion and discover what you need them to know, they now become the hero in their own story rather than you becoming the hero. And then, the idea is like you teach them how to fish, not fish for them. And the reason that they then would, choose to stay with you is because you're someone that brings out the best in them, and you help them be the hero of their own story, not you being the hero for them and doing the work for them and really just giving them a crutch. And so, so I try really hard at the start to ask tons of questions and to really listen, because typically the less I speak, the less I will input my own projection of what I think is going on.
Oh, I see.
That makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense. Total sense.
So as much as I can, ask questions, listen, what's going on, and get them to express to me what their expectations are and how I can help them.
That makes a ton of sense. So I want to get kind of your opinion on is how much would you attribute success, whether it be as an athlete, like a professional athlete, or just someone trying to hit like their fitness goals? How much do you attribute mindset to like the success they'll see, if that makes sense?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Just one time I was listening to an episode of the Chasing Excellence podcast by Ben Bergeron.
Yeah.
And he was mentioning how the mindset of an athlete can really dictate the success they'll see like out of their training. He was saying how the mindset of the athlete can totally dictate how much success they'll see out of their training.
Absolutely. There is, 100% there is a correlation and there is a value and there is some percentage of how much better you can be or how much worse you can be based off your mindset. Absolutely. It comes back down to how you see the world, right? I mean, just having a casual conversation with anyone, if you have people that went through 2020 and they think it was the absolute and could be very valid, right? Could be very valid. It was the worst year of their life.
Yeah.
But then you also have people like, man, I had a great year. I live in Little Cedar City. There's 30,000 people. We have been minimally affected by, COVID. I have been blessed to pretty much live my same standard of living, other than wearing a mask at the grocery store. So that being said, I feel like 2020 was a really positive year for me in a variety of ways. And a lot of that has to do with overcoming negative things, stress, anxiety, unknowns, because there were still unknowns. I had to work from home from X amount of time. I was at risk of losing potentially my job. There were things that didn't pan out the way I wanted them to pan out. There's a variety of things that changed. I had to change how I was working with my clients because I couldn't go in person. But there's also other people that I've talked to that live here in my same community. They, I don't know, make as much money as I do. They, in my assumption, have the same opportunity for success and happiness. 2020 was the very worst year for them. And a lot of that might have to do because of the election.
Yeah.
Right.
Totally.
So just in having a mere conversation, like someone has chosen to focus on the election, has chosen to focus on all the turmoil that's going on in the world, and they have a very like negative doomsday attitude when they interact with you. But someone is focusing on all the different things that are going on that are good and changes that are trying to happen, or how they can make change happen. And so, so I think that mindset overall like has a big impact. I think Ben Bergeron is the one that tells the story about Katrin. I don't know if she PR'd, but basically one time at the games, like she only got like 2 or 3 hours of sleep. And then, he helped her change her mindset, or they had always been working on their mindset where instead of showing up and being like, I only got this much sleep, like she was able to show up and say, I got this much sleep. I did this. These are all the things that I did do and that I did control and that I did take care of. Now it's time for me to go out and, compete and have fun. And so, and she did pretty well from what I remember of the story. And so I think that there's a balance of, we know lots of sleep is beneficial. We know hydrating is beneficial. We know eating healthy is beneficial. But if those things go wrong or don't go according to plan, can you sit there and say, and turn that or change that to, in that moment, these are the things I have done. Yesterday I didn't eat very well, but I have eaten well for 6 months before that, or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
I didn't sleep very well last night, but I've been sleeping well. Like, if you can just change that mindset, you are going to be better off than if you just sit there and focus on, the negative of what just happened. I had a horrible workout today. Absolutely horrible. It was not a, one I want to even go on. I don't want to go on. I could easily go on Instagram and say, I had a bad workout today, but I learned all these things and and here's why it was a positive. No, I had a bad workout, but am I going to go into the next workout saying I'm less fit, or like, oh, I had a horrible workout, so or am I going to say, no, like I've had a really bad workout yesterday, but over the last 6 months, like in general, I've had great training opportunities. So back in the gym for another day, and this can be a good day for me.
That's some powerful. Yeah, makes a lot of sense. That's some powerful advice. And just wrapping up, you as a performance mindset coach, do you see what are some trends you might see, whether it be in an athlete or just a business owner that kind of like in their mindset that's holding them back, if that makes sense?
Yep. So I think that people in general hold themselves back from being curious.
Okay.
And failure. So
definitely, I can totally relate to that.
So I'm an athlete, and I always row on this damper setting. I always row this way, and I always do things this way, and that's how I get my results. That athlete now being scared of like, well, what happens if I put it on a different setting?
Okay. Yeah.
What happens if I choose to do it differently this way? And they don't do it because they are fearful of the unknown, and the unknown is that will change the outcome of my score. And when I score as high as I want to, then I didn't do as well as I'm a failure. rather than, no, like I learned that cycling the barbell this way was not to my benefit, or I did cycle the barbell one way, and I see how that could be beneficial for me. It was the first time I did it. I just need to practice it more.
That makes a lot of sense.
Business owner, they can have different things in the office or different routines or habits that really don't serve them anymore. But the devil that they know, they trust more than the one they don't.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
I trust this negative outcome because it provides an outcome that I know and expect, and like I know how to react to it. Versus this other thing, like I don't know what to expect, and the possibility that it's really something that's worse is going to stop me from potentially finding out why it would be better.
It's funny you say that, like being scared of being curious is like one of the big limitations on a lot of people, because that's most likely what I was doing. Like, how I mentioned in 2019, I was thinking about coming to the Iron Games, but then I saw that there was swimming and I was like, oh, I don't know. But it was pretty much just because up until that point, I haven't done swimming in workouts, and I was like, oh no, now I'm definitely not going to like have a chance at the leaderboard or anything. So it's funny you said that, because I can totally relate to that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's very true. And it's honestly something I've realized lately that I probably I need to be better at understanding with my athletes that I'm programming for is I don't like when I go into the gym, typically, I'm not always perfect, but typically like I don't have a problem looking at it and being like, I'm going to learn how to play the game of CrossFit better. Like I'll look at a workout and I'm like, okay, how am I going to play this game better? Like, what am I going to learn? Like what does serve me, what doesn't? But some athletes I train aren't like that. It's I just want the best score I can possibly get, rather than like learn from going at this pace and how it affects you. How does this pace on the rower affect you when you go to pull-ups?
Okay. Yeah.
I'm realizing that that's something that I could be more understanding of, that I need to maybe meet them more a little bit where they're at, or not necessarily where I'm at. And that, not that I know and that's the way you need to be, but that's just what I enjoy about it.
That makes a lot of sense. Well, thank you so much, Brigham, for being on the show. This was a great talk. This is definitely one of my favorite interviews I've done so far in the short.
You're being nice. I haven't listened to the Hebner one yet, but I'm sure that one's great. And then did you with Adrian yet, or no?
I did the one with Adrian and Jacob both a few weeks ago. They're both coming out around February 1st.
Oh, okay. So they're not out yet.
No, the Paul podcast ain't out yet. It's coming February 1st. Awesome. I got a whole backlog of episodes that are coming out. So
that's the way to do it. Yeah, for sure. So awesome. I'm excited, and thanks for having me, and can't wait to listen to all of them.
Yeah, anytime. So where can people find you afterwards if they want to go look you up?
Yeah, the best place to reach me would just be on Instagram, Brigham Nielsen, at Brigham Nielsen, Nielsen. The same thing on Facebook or on Twitter. Yeah, that'd be the best place.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, Brigham, for being on the show.
Hey, thank you, Michael. Appreciate your time, and I'm honored to be on. Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Business Pump Podcast. Don't forget to like, comment, and hit that subscribe button. And stay connected with Michael on social media at @BMichaelGroff on all platforms.